hope you've all had an amazing weekend. You have? Good. Now, because you're all refreshed and ready for another week, I wanted to talk about a serious but important topic and how technology is actually helping to save lives. Now, concussions, as I'm sure you're all aware of, is a temporary injury to the brain that is caused by a bump, a blow, or sudden jolt to the head. And although it only usually lasts for up to a few days, or in some cases weeks, it sometimes needs emergency treatment, and some people can have much longer lasting problems if it's not treated. But did you know that 2.5 million young people suffer a concussion in the US alone each year? And have you ever thought about the risks of not actually treating that properly? Well, Dr. Pia Saucer, she's the founder and CEO of Crash Course by TeachAids, which essentially is an educational software that teaches younger athletes about concussions. And they also currently work with Stanford University and Pop Warner. She has fantastic expertise on the persistent health problems that are currently plaguing the world. But most importantly, the technology that can be used to address these problems. All the work that she's doing is exactly what this show is all about. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to California so we can speak with her about the fantastic work that she's doing with TeachAids and Crash Course. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on here. My name is Pia Sorkar. This is my 7th year teaching at Stanford University's Graduate School of Education. It was in 2009 that I founded the nonprofit called TeachAids to address numerous persistent problems in providing health education globally. We have more than 250 partners around the world, and all our interactive education software is distributed for free globally. Our first initiative was in HIV prevention education, which was instituted in 82 countries around the world, mostly throughout Asia and Africa. And most recently, we've expanded our efforts into another topic area, which is concussion education. And this new initiative is called Crash Course.
And Crash Course is the reason I invited you on today. It's incredibly exciting what you're doing there. And I think we should talk about the problem that you're solving before we actually talk about Crash Course. So can you just set the scene and tell me a little bit more about how over 2.5 million young people are suffering from concussion in the US alone and the risks of not treating it properly too?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to do that. So there are about 38 million children who participate in sports each year here. The Center for Disease Control indicates that there are somewhere between 1.6 and 3.8 million sports-related concussions among young people every year. Other studies show that 1 in 5 high school kids, for instance, experience sports-related concussions. The range that you find in the number of concussions experienced varies significantly, and it's because experts say that it's drastically underestimated because of underreporting. With proper care, most concussions can heal within a couple days, but the overwhelming majority of students and parents and coaches are unaware of the latest science about prevention and treatment of concussions. And an even greater challenge is that if it's not properly treated when it initially occurs, a concussion may have lasting effects, which could range from physical, emotional, and cognitive effects. The majority of studies show that these kids don't report and they go back into the game. In fact, 1 in 3 are known to go back into the same game. And going back into the game after experiencing a concussion can be extremely dangerous. So the athlete is 3 to 5 times more likely to get another injury, which could be another concussion, or because of the balance and vision related issues and their senses are off, they could get hurt in another way with an injury to another part of their body.
And on this Daily Tech podcast, I love exploring how companies are using technology, but to solve real problems. So you could tell me a little bit more about how Crash Course is changing the way people actually understand concussions and also providing students, parents and coaches with the latest medical knowledge on the prevention and treatment of concussions too.
Absolutely. As we spoke to experts in the field, it became apparent that there was a great need for more compelling education for youth. Research demonstrated that the way most concussion education was communicated was simply not getting through to kids. It was mostly through PDFs and posters and videos of talking heads. So to address the problem, we did two things. The first was that we engaged with world-class medical experts and advisors to ensure that the latest science was being communicated. Much of the education that was out there was outdated. The second thing we did was that we worked extensively with young people to develop education that truly resonated with them. They didn't want information or education that felt like a regular classroom. They wanted an interactive experience. So with Crash Course, it begins with a scene where the learner is in the middle of an intense football game. The kid gets concussed and has to make a decision on whether to stay in the game or to take a knee. The interactive video experience then branches into a choose your own adventure type plot line. And to enhance the learning experience, our research team added a virtual reality component version, which allowed the kids to be totally immersed in that learning experience.